All right, so the Avatar trailer is finally out. The actual trailer, no teaser. There seems to be a lot of hype for it. Whether or not the hype seems really worth it or whether it's trustful, that's yet to be discussed. But there's a lot to talk about, and we are here in Imagine Blue, starting with me, Chuku. We got
OC.
Lucy and Crystal.
Crystal.
So let's dive in. Let's talk about this trailer, guys. What do we feel now that we got some glimpse of things?
Feel like I just need it already. Like, what the heck? Like, just release it
Yeah.
already. That's what the people want.
Yeah, it's I mean, we've been waiting for it for a very, very, very long time. And I'm happy. I think the trailer, there's a lot of like really cool stuff to be excited about. Like one of the things that happened when they released their still images prior, like a couple months back, was we were able to see how accurate a lot of the costume designs and settings were to the actual show. And I think that just kind of like hyped everybody up with, you know, their expectations for this live action version of Avatar. So seeing the trailer, seeing everything in motion, I think that for the most part, it did kind of like live up to what the still images kind of were alluding to. So now I think for me, I'm really excited by the fact that they seem to have done a very good job building the world, at least in alignment with the show. And I feel like at this point, I'm looking forward to the characters. So like, how are the actors going to perform? What are the performances going to look like? A lot of the dramatic moments between different characters, and then also the action. I think that is also going to be a big aspect to whether or not this show is like a positive or it's like
okay.
That was my main complaint with the teaser. Remember, I said not enough action. Like, I don't know if I trust it because they're not showing us any action. This time around, they opened up with like a battle scene. And there was even some choreo from, I think, like the Zuko actor. And I was like, okay, this looks good. It doesn't look like slow. It looks dynamic and like nice to look at. Hopefully that's the trend for all the action that we see throughout the series. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. Even from the teaser, I was intrigued. The visuals are on point. The score is amazing. Like I said, it's a score that is really pretty and sweeping and celebrates like the original score and soundtrack from like the original animated series. So
yeah,
for those things, I think they hit the nail on the head, and you know, I'm glad for it.
Yeah, that's funny that you brought up characters and action, because I feel like what I like about the trailer and also what I dislike kind of has to relate to these two. Starting with what I liked. Again, the visuals look amazing, the cinematography. Granted, to be fair, Avatar, The Last Airbender, they were inspired by trying to make it look like a live action movie. So for them to not copy that would be like, they're basically giving a blueprint of like, just copy us and you'll get a nice visual shot. So they nailed that part. Acting to me, like Sokka felt like Sokka. Like I was like, that is Sokka. Like to this point now, when Crystal, when you're saying, I don't think this guy could be Sokka, I'm like, I don't know, Crystal. I'm gonna have to.
I still have
defend
something
him.
to say, but you know, whatever.
But I feel like he's really good. Even Zuko, I felt Zuko when I heard Zuko. I feel like Aang and Katara, they're good enough for what they're being for. So that to me were really stunning. Action, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kind of disappointed with the action. I felt from what I saw of the action, a lot of it was a little bit. I mean,
stiff.
it was passable, but it looked a little stiff. Like when it's like
Stiff.
I was trying not to laugh at Iroh doing the fire. I'm like, oh my god, Iroh. And then when Aang tries to do the butterfly kick, it just looks kind of weird. And then even when there's a scene with Katara doing like the water bending, it just looks kind of off. And then like it seemed like they rely a lot on those like moments where it's like characters clash each other and there's a big bang and it's like epic. And it's just, to me, it's like from what I'm seeing of the action, I'm kind of like. And I know Avatar, you know, there's more to it than action, but Avatar is like one of the things that made Avatar stand out was
Mhm.
action was one of the most pioneer things of it, and Legend
Mhm.
Core even expanded on it. So it's like I'm gonna have to be a little bit tough of the action, and what I'm seeing right now, I'm not really looking forward to it if I have to be honest with action.
Oh, yikes.
I'm honestly like along the same lines that you are on, just because, yeah, when I was watching this trailer, I definitely felt a little bit of a letdown with how the action was being portrayed. And it's tough because it's like it takes so much to make a good show. It takes so much to just like because like we can see very clearly that they've put a lot of effort into trying to make this as like good as they can do, as they can make it, like with the, as you know, we've talked about the setting, the score, that they, you know, did a great job of adapting the score to this new version. They've done a great job on a lot of these other aspects, but the action is also like a key component to the world of
Mhm.
Avatar. And it's like, yes, I understand that it's tough. It can be very tough to turn these actors who maybe they're fantastic actors, like the Uncle Iroh's, I
Yeah,
can't remember his name, but like from Kim's Convenient, like great actor, and he's in Star Wars, great actor. And then Daniel Day Kim,
yeah, the guy's gonna
being
play Fire
the
Lord Ozai.
Fire Lord Ozai, great actors.
Yeah,
But like,
exactly.
these guys aren't trained athletic, you know, martial artists. You know what I mean? And
True.
they can become like, you can train people to like do stuff that looks really cool on camera if you give them enough time. I don't know if they gave them enough time for this. Is the thing is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like push back on it a little bit because like let's take for example the Yu Yu Hakusho live action. None of those people are professional. At least the actors, I looked their backgrounds, they're not really professional fighters. However, it has one of the best fight scenes I've seen in a live action adaptation. And this Avatar, this thing has a bigger budget. So for
Mhm.
me, I just feel like, again, like I get it to some aesthetic. There's obviously so much you can do with bending and how it can look, but I feel like they could have
Yeah.
found a way to make it work. And I just feel like they choose the more, if we can't make it look cool, we can make it look like, hey, you like the part where you see Jet doing the fire thing, you're like, oh, it's the thing from the show. Like I feel like they leaned onto the whole, at least we're gonna look like we're gonna copy what they did in the show aesthetic, as opposed to actually trying to find professionals and really put it into the work, right? Again,
Yeah.
obviously, again, this could just be based off what we see from the trailer. At
Yeah.
the same time, the fact that it is from the trailer also alarms me, you know, because
Right,
even when
because
the
they're
trailer
only putting the best things in the trailer.
exactly
Ideally.
exactly, and not to
So,
mention it's
Good
like,
point.
not to mention, yeah, it's like, and then it's done really fast too. There's always cuts. It's always like, okay, we see this scene, and then we're doing this scene. So I'm just like,
yeah.
so
I'm hoping the cuts is just because it's like edited because it's like for a trailer, right? Like they're not trying to give too much away. I think
Mhm.
also for the Yu Yu Hakusho example, I feel like that guy, or are you talking about like the scene in the first episode? Anyway, the main guy of Yu Yu Hakusho, he seems like really physically in like peak physical condition. I feel like maybe you could for like the younger actors, maybe train them to do like really good action, but for, like we said, like the guy who's playing like Uncle Iroh, like I don't know like how acrobatic he can get, which is like kind of sad because we know in like the later seasons of Avatar, like he's like, you know, Uncle Iroh's like
yeah,
really physical. So
Yeah.
that's something
yeah,
I've made my peace with already. Like I don't think we're gonna see like something as like badass as that, or like there's just gonna be like a lot of cuts with like body doubles and like stunt people.
yeah.
Um
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
that
They could
and
do
that's
good with that.
fine. Yeah. But also too, I guess maybe just because I'm like always on socials, I've been seeing over and over again the Avatar The Last Airbender movie scene where they were earthbending. So I've been primed to like live action Avatar looking horrible. So like when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is a step in the right direction. At least the bending is fast.
We
And
have
so-
different algorithms because I've been getting the final Agni Kai over and over again.
Really?
Between Zuko and Azula.
I've
So
been
that's
getting like haters on like
what
the
I'm
movie.
looking at.
I think
Yeah,
also, speaking of different algorithms, I'm seeing a lot of people that are not happy with the sorry for the camera issues, guys, but I'm seeing a lot of people that are not happy with the Sokka casting. And like, I can get behind that just because out of like the whole cast, he's the one that I feel like is the most like physically different looking from, you know, his character in the show. I feel like, you know, at some ends of the spectrum, some of these people look exactly like as if they were human versions of like their cartoon person. Sokka for me couldn't look like further from the Sokka in the show. And like it's like, trust me, a lot of people are like not really with it. And that's that's just like, also, hey, I know you said you heard Sokka. There was some iffy line delivery to me where he's like, "Oh, this is Save the World." I'm like, "Whoa, like, take a breath, dude." Like, it reminded me of like, you know, when Gal Gadot was getting like beat up by Superman as Wonder Woman, and she's like, "Kal-El, no!" It was like that acting to me. I was like, "Oh no!"
I don't know. With the Sokka thing, I find it weird because like he does look like the actor does look like he could be related to Katara. So I'm just curious why these people don't feel the same way with Katara. But as far as performance were, it's like I felt that he's a sarcastic dude where he's like, "Yeah, Aang, we're gonna be here. You're gonna have your little, you could have your little Momo too." Like I felt that personality from what I heard from his performance. I mean, again, this is just the trailer, so who knows? But from what I heard, I was like, okay, that fits his personality. Maybe it's not being said in that moment, or maybe the way the moment is, but for the most part, it's like, this is Sokka. I can tell that's him and whatever.
Yeah.
For me,
I know for that line specifically, I thought that was fine. For the other line where he like eats the bun, I mean, people are like literally posting it and they're like, what the F? Like that line delivery was like not that great, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll wait and see to, you know, once the show comes out, we'll be able to, you know, more accurately judge his performance. But like I said, yeah, it's gonna come down to a lot of the performances, as to whether or not this show is like a smash hit or it's just meh.
Actually, there's another thing I want to add in, sorry, because, and this is actually not based off the trailer, this is based off the show. So it's confirmed that this show is going to have 8 episodes. Okay. So they're going to try to confirm the whole thing in 8 episodes. And I'm a little bit worried about that because season 1 of the original show was 20 episodes. And I know they can cut up a lot of stuff. Like, we don't need to see the Great Divide and all of that to, you know, get material. But I just feel like even if it's an hour long, we're doing 8 episodes. My big fear is that it's not going to feel like actual characters going through progression in an actual story, but instead it's just going to feel like the highlights of Aang. Like, it's like if you're looking at someone's Facebook and remember, hey, you remember this event that happened and, you know, this moment? Like, I feel like we're going to get a bunch of just highlights, or, hey, we're doing this thing from that scene, or you remember when that moment happened, or you remember when he burned the Commander Zhao, I mean, burned Katara's bringer. Like, you're not going to really feel that character earn progression thing, and that's a little bit scary and alarming to me. Not to mention they did confirm, which is a plus to it, but also is gonna gets me to that concern of that's going to be highlights, is that they are going to add more stuff with like with Firelord Ozai. And then as and well as
Zula's in this season.
And then we also get the scene with the what happened with monkeys with the Air Nation and how they got eliminated, which is good, but that still confirms my whole idea. Like, okay, if they're gonna add this and they're gonna sacrifice a lot of other story elements, so that's another thing that is gonna, like, I think you can still enjoy the show. It's not like the show is not gonna be enjoyable, but it's like Avatar's known for its story, and I don't want the story to be lost for just to be like a bunch of highlights of like, hey, look, Aang did this thing. You remember this moment, or you remember that moment when Aang did that thing, and it's like this, not without the
That's fair. I think pacing could also be an issue too. I feel like, as always with these, like, I guess kind of adaptations, right?
Yes.
And I don't, it's always like par for the course for these adaptations. I feel like there's always gonna be some conveniences at play, you know. I mean, we saw the same in One Piece.
It comes down to that is a concern, like a valid concern, and I think it just comes down to the quality of the writing. Once we're able to see how well they were able to basically just tie all of these different story beats together. because yeah, like you said, there are certain episodes that we don't even need to touch on really, but they just need to be able to come up with a way to, because all the episodes in the series, they like all have like a specific purpose. So if they can figure out a way to convey the purpose of that episode without necessarily even going into the plot of that episode, I think that's a smart way to go about like kind of just like reorienting how the series goes and like fitting everything into 8 episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends. We'll see if they did a good job. If they didn't do a good job, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like their biggest thing is because like Avatar, especially the first season, was known to be like, you know, a fun adventure. You know, almost every place was
It was
a new thing.
episodic.
Episodic.
Its
This
own,
one's going to
yeah.
be more serial. They confirmed this is going to be a more serial thing where everything's going to, you know, lead to the next thing, which again, it can work. Like, I'm not saying that can't work. And obviously it works better on the show. It's just, again, the sacrifice of like the character progression is really going to be something that might hinder the series, especially because that's the thing that people loved about the series. So it's like, it's a challenging thing.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to the performances, like we said. If there's no chemistry there, and if these guys aren't bringing like an authenticity to their, I guess, take on these characters, then it's going to be really obvious and people are going to hate on it, and it's going to come down to the actors. So I'm just saying what I'm seeing, and you know, and everyone is always going to have their opinions. I think stuff like this is always going to be divisive. I mean, look at The Last of Us. You know, I thought, well, you know, a lot of people say it's perfect casting, but there's still a lot of haters on both sides for like different parts of the cast. So it's like, you know, but as long as the performances are there to back them up, I think
performances and the writing,
that's the best case scenario. Performances and the writing for sure.
So we'll see. Going back to like I don't know if this is a Netflix thing, but Netflix has done like you mentioned before, like they've done solid fight scenes and like action sequences.
Exactly.
But then
Yu Yu Hakusho, which like no one watched.
Yeah, it was.
But like
well done.
Bringing it to like Daredevil, you know, I don't think Charlie Cox is like a trained martial artist.
Exactly.
So like they're able to like make him look so good in that show. But then on the same end, they also did Iron Fist. So
I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is way more ambitious, y'all. I think there's way more moving parts with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
But I think that's part of my
That's the point. That's the point. That if it's ambitious, it should have the budget to do it. Like there's no excuse.
No. I mean, I get it. Like maybe I can definitely see like, oh, they spend most of the budget in this area as opposed to like in the fight choreo. So I feel that, but I do think that like part of my concern with it being such a big project is that they focused on other things. So hopefully, you know, season 2 and season 3, they'll be able to like, if it's not like what we want as far as the action and the fight sequences, hopefully season 2, season 3, they can bring in some people who can, you know, make it a little bit better.
All I'm gonna say is that
actors.
Okay, I was just gonna say that because you know I've seen a lot of these like fan, you know, Avatar live action fights. If they have better fights than the fights I see in this, I'm gonna definitely put a complaint. But besides that, on a real note, I'm definitely hype. I think for me, again, the biggest things to highlight are the characters. If not Sokka, Zuko for sure does feel like Zuko to me. And I'm looking down for that, as well as just it looks visually nice. And you know, as someone who grew up with Avatar, it's cool to see a live action Omashu. This is what Omashu would look like if it was in real life, or this is what the Fire Lord Palace will look like as real life. So I'm definitely looking into that, and I love that they're expanding some things that we have. So who knows, maybe we'll care about Fire Lord Ozai. We'll be like, no, Fire Lord Ozai wasn't a bad person. He was mistreated.
He's making some good points.
So who knows what will happen out of this. So there's a lot of potential for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, definitely let us know your thoughts on the trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender via Netflix down below, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace.